Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Mind the Moment's Tuesday morning gathering, brought to you by Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. This is a place where we invite experienced mindfulness instructors to talk with us about what mindfulness means to them and to discuss as a community how we can incorporate these practices into our daily lives. And I'm Suzanne Rowe Palacino. So happy to be here this morning with our own Tara Healey, founder and director of Harvard Pilgrim's Mindfulness Program. Good morning, Tara.
Good morning, Suzanne. Good morning, everyone. Good to be here with you.
Nice to have everyone joining this morning on this sunny Thursday morning. So today, Tara's actually going to start with a talk this morning about a subject that's been very interesting to her. And then she'll give a question to the group to get everybody started chatting. And then we'll guide us in a guided practice. So if you can go down to the chat at the bottom of the screen and open the chat, if you're interested in seeing the questions coming in and comments, just click the drop-down menu that says panelists and change that to panelists and attendees. And you'll be able to see all the comments and questions coming in as we go. All right, Tara, so I'll hand it off to you this morning.
All right, thanks. So as Suzanne said, there is something I have been doing more research on. It's something I've known about, but just I haven't studied that intently, and that is the vagus nerve. And so roughly translated, it just means wandering nerve. It is the largest cranial nerve in the body. And it travels from the brainstem all the way down to the abdomen. And it's the primary communicator to the autonomic nervous system. So this is the part of the nervous system. It has two branches, a sympathetic and a parasympathetic. So the sympathetic is the fight or flight and freeze response. The parasympathetic is responsible for the relaxation response. Essentially, it takes us out of fight or flight. The autonomic nervous system runs our bodies without us having to participate. So it does things like regulate our breathing, our heart rate, and our blood pressure. You know, these are not things that we generally have to think about. They're running all on their own. But given the amount of stress that we've been under, and you know, it's interesting, I heard somebody refer to this as the 4 pandemics, which are racial, political, environmental, and then of course viral. And because of this, stress levels are at historic highs. And so what that means is the conditions are right for the nervous system getting stuck in that sympathetic mode, that fight, flight, freeze. And you know, generally what normally happens after, say, a single stressful event, the vagus nerve communicates that all is well and that the danger has passed. But when we're in a more of a chronic mode, this can lead to physical and emotional symptoms, including inflammation. Inflammation has gotten a lot of press lately, but basically one of the things to know about this as it relates to the vagus nerve is that there's the neurotransmitter acetylcholine puts the brakes on inflammation in the body, and stimulating the vagus nerve is what sends acetylcholine throughout the body. And that just helps us feel more relaxed, decreases stress, and decreases inflammation. So science has given us a number of tools to measure various bodily functions that determine our stress levels, but one of the most effective ways to measure is by studying what's called vagus nerve stimulation. And when stimulated, it influences that parasympathetic nervous system that helps us come out of fight or flight. And I have to say, there's good news regarding the stimulation of the vagus nerve is that everything that I have read says it's easy to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous. It's easy to stimulate the vagus nerve. And when we're meditating, which we're going to be doing in a moment, the vagus nerve receives signals from the effects of that meditation and then sends a message to the brain that all is well. And then the brain sends a message to the autonomic nervous system and then the parasympathetic branch to come out of fight or flight. So, you know, what's helpful to know here too is that, so this part of the body that runs automatically can actually be influenced. We can consciously participate in our health and our well-being, and to basically help ourselves reset. So a couple of things that stimulate the vagus nerve, that increase the tone of the vagus nerve, is meditation, and specifically within that, breathing practices. So doing deep and slow breathing, and doing more what's called restricted breathing, where in yoga this is common, like a pranayama breath, where you're constricting the back of the throat on the exhalation. But other really interesting things are chanting, humming, gargling, rocking, cold water exposure, like jumping in a cold body of water. And if you don't have access to that, cold showers, massage. The other thing too is having social connection, which again has been largely missing. So social connection, and within that, laughter, exercise, various forms of exercise, but yoga, tai chi, getting massages, like these are all things that can influence vagal tone. So with that said, my question for you as we start, are there things that you have maybe been naturally doing that you haven't even necessarily considered that was influencing the vagal nerve? Because I think historically, and culturally for generations, especially indigenous people, have done some of these practices very naturally. And sometimes we do these practices without realizing how they're helping us. So, the other thing, I don't know if I said this too, which I found interesting. You sometimes see this in various religious traditions, but rocking the body either forward or backward or side to side also stimulates. So I guess I would just ask, what do you do of some of those things that I've mentioned, that where you might be naturally stimulating the vagus nerve, knowing it or not knowing it? So Suzanne, maybe we'll start with you, and as we always do, and see, I want to make sure I have my chat open okay. Yeah.
There's one thing that a meditation teacher had told me about the vagus nerve, that when we do deep, when you're mentioning about deep breathing, a deep breath in, if you expand the belly, that's
Yes.
also supposed to stimulate the vagus nerve. So I've done that when I especially feel like I need to, bring more calm to my body and my mind. And then in yoga, my yoga instructor has mentioned like more stretching to actually stimulate the vagus nerve by, massaging it.
Just do, yeah.
I know someone has put in the chat Om, which makes sense.
Yes.
Yoga.
Yeah. Wow. No, it's true. And rocking on a on a porch swing. Yes, and the sounds of Om and ah, like these different vibrations that we can make. But what I thought was also interesting is gargling can improve vagal tone. And the vagus nerve, it's just, I'd encourage everybody to just do a Google search and look it up, because the ease with which we can influence the vagus nerve, even if you're waiting in line somewhere, just doing some breathing. Slow breathing when my daughters were in the practice. Yeah. I think what's interesting is I believe our bodies have a natural capacity to know some of these things and to naturally do them. There's I'm reading a really great book, and the author also talks about it, called My Grandmother's Hands. And he talks about his grandmother, who was a sharecropper, and he would notice as a little boy, because of the trauma in her life, that she would hum a lot. So I think there's just this innate wisdom within our own knowing, our own bodies, that we can tap into. So that's why I said knowingly or, wittingly or unwittingly, you may already be doing some of these things. Yeah, so humming, walking, practicing. Yeah. The cold water too, that has me sort of curious because I don't typically like it, but I can see where that might be helpful. And Native Americans have walked barefoot on the cold earth, as a way to ground. And again, I think, this could be stimulating vagal nerve tonality, the tonality of the vagal nerve. So yeah, thank you, everybody. So with that in mind, I wanted to say that before we started practice. So I'm going to have you on your own do 2 or 3 deep, slow breaths, and do them in a way that feels comfortable for you. So it could be in through the nose, out through the nose, or deep inhalation through the nose with a more forceful exhalation. I would say make your exhalation double the length of the inhalation. Somebody says they think I'm saying vagal nerve, vagal. All right, so as we get ready to start, you want to just adjust your body so that you're sitting in a way that is, relaxed and easeful, holding yourself upright, where you're not too loose and not too tight, eyes open or closed. So if you decide to keep them open, gaze downward. And go ahead and do 2 or 3 deep breaths, just as a way to kind of tone the vagal nerve and settle in. And allow the weight of the body just to surrender into the support beneath you. Notice the points of contact with the back of the body or even the soles of the feet if you happen to be standing. And with a wide angle lens of attention over the whole body, just aware of pulsing or vibration. What's the physical experience of your activity so far this morning as we move into stillness? What is your body offering you? What are you aware of? Temperature, pulsing, vibration, tingling. Begin to expand your awareness outside in the room you're in or outside of the room or even outdoors. What sounds are you aware of? And just simply receiving sound. And as you feel ready, begin to bring your awareness back inward to the whole body and start to notice the rhythm of your breath. However you're breathing is fine. Just see if you can notice your rhythms and where in the body you notice the inhalation and the exhalation most prominently. Let that serve as an anchor for the rest of the practice this morning. So tracking the breath in, tracking the breath out at that point in your body where you feel it most prominently. If breath is hard for you this morning, you can always use something else like sound, or you can take the palms of your hands and rest them on a part of the body. And that point of contact, that subtle pressure, that feeling can be your anchor. So the mind will wander, you're simply aware of it, make a mental note thinking, and then return to the anchor you're using. As the mind wanders into thought, not a problem. Simply label thinking and return to your anchor. And again, noticing where the mind is. And as we bring this meditation to a close, may we be peaceful and at ease. May our heart be soft and open. May we be safe and protected, and our bodies healthy and strong. And may the benefit of our practice be for the benefit of all beings everywhere. And as you feel ready, if your eyes were closed, you can open. And if they were open, reconnecting.
Thank you, Tara.
Yes.
Those words into practice, and you know, I was doing more of that deep breathing where expanding my
Oh,
belly.
yeah, definitely. I'm seeing somebody has sent nervy facts about the vagus nerve. So thank you, John. Yeah, it's interesting in this field of mindfulness and meditation, the vagus nerve has been mentioned periodically, throughout the years, and different, I think Dave Vago, who's a neuroscientist researcher specifically has published on this. But I've really taken an interest to this more of lately because of the impact the vagus nerve can have on us. And especially around inflammation, decreasing body's inflammation, which is one of the reasons why we get sick, is when the body is inflamed. And everywhere I read, I know I said this, but it's worth saying again, it's easy to stimulate it, whether it's with breathing or social connection or cold water plunges, which could include a cold water shower, massage, yoga, exercise, laughter. I wonder why I was always drawn to the class clown. I mean, always, when I was going through school, I would sort of look for the funniest person in the room, and then I would kind of giggle in the back of the room. I think it's worth considering things that we have done naturally, but might not know exactly why. It's like there's an innate wisdom of the body.
Someone was asking for the website to join. I think that, for these sessions, but other things, if you go on harvardpilgrim.org/mindthemoment, that
or living well at home. So harvardpilgrim.org/living well at home, or harvardpilgrim.org/mind the moment. Yeah. So anybody else have any thoughts about the practice that we just did, with a little bit of information about the vagus nerve ahead of it? Do you think you were more aware of it or influenced you in any way?
I've heard people ask that when we're in meditation, there's that calm that we can get when we're concentrating on, either just breathing or the vagus nerve. And they feel that when they start their day, then everything goes back to their regular, and they lose that calm and concentration. So how does one keep that going throughout the day? Where we can obviously.
Yeah, it's interesting, Suzanne. I mean, I guess I would have a little bit of I don't know. I try to say this a lot, that meditation, mindfulness meditation at least, is not about bringing about calm. So to really lose that idea, and I think culturally it's been drilled in us that you sit in meditation, it's about being calm, but it's actually in mindfulness meditation, as Sharon Salzberg says, she's a wonderful meditation, feel what you feel. So if you're nervous or anxious or whatever, the idea with mindfulness meditation is we're actually seeing, rather than reject it or push it away, we're actually seeing if we can experience the physicality of it. Like, what does it feel like when I'm anxious, nervous, angry? So we're getting to know. so then there's no problem with trying to bring about that calm throughout the day. It's like, that's not what we're trying to do. In fact, that we're trying to see if we can get more equilibrium or balance with whatever state we're in, so that you can have these challenging emotions throughout the day, but you're not thrown off kilter because you're actually getting to know them. You're getting to know their nature. And so if we approach meditation with this idea of I want to be calm and then I want to keep that calm throughout the day, you're already setting yourself up for really an inaccurate experience of what this practice can do for you. So that cannot be stated enough, because I think we get cultural messages that you meditate so you can be calm. But we really meditate in this particular form to understand the nature of our mind, to understand our habits and our patterns, to learn to be able to relate to difficulty with more equanimity and balance. And so when difficult states arise, we're just not thrown off by them so much. It's not as problematic. They're unpleasant, but not, we can work within them. So
yeah, that's
yeah.
good.
So work around stimulating the recovery, stress induced. Yeah. Wow. Really great. Reinforcing information. Yeah. Thank you, Colleen and Lisa. Yeah.
I think about this in relation to eating as well. The connection of the vagus nerve, the mind gut kind of connection, and how I've been trying to focus on foods that are going to be more, are going to feed that part of my body and make me healthier from the standpoint of that mind-body connection.
Yep. Yeah. And I think the vagus nerve really points out just how powerful the mind and the body are in terms of being connected. So well, thank you, everybody. I appreciated so much hearing from all of you and some of the comments that you have shared. And, I guess I would say, like, to Google the vagus nerve. We have a website here somebody has shared, so that, check that out and go out and tone that vagal nerve today.
Yeah, it's good to be conscious of it. So it's something that's really going to help our mind states. So thank you so much, Tara. I think this is a very interesting topic for all. Everyone seemed quite engaged, and we really appreciate the.
No, I appreciate the engagement that all of you who join every Tuesday and Thursday bring. I feel like we have formed such an awesome community.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Well, thank you everyone for joining, and we'll be back here on Tuesday morning at 8:30, and we'll have Shanti Douglas here with us on Tuesday. So
great.
I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye.